Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Parliament braces for a stormy start to the monsoon session that begins today, centre to switch to offensive mode as opposition gears up for an all-out attack on various issues. Parliament committee looking into the land bill gets more time to submit its report, second extension to panel that was selected to table report today. Last possible chance against death sentence for 1993 Mumbai blast convict Yaqub Menin's curative petition comes up before the Supreme Court today. 30 killed and nearly 100 wounded in an explosion outside a cultural center in Suruk in Turkey. Initial probe suggests blast caused by a female suicide bomber from the IS. Well, it is the first day of the much-anticipated monsoon session of Parliament. The session will last till August 13th, but this could perhaps be the most high-voltage session with the opposition geared up to corner the government over an array of issues, not only involving legislative agenda, but involving many cabinet ministers and chief ministers as well. The centre too has hardened its stand, saying that while it is open to suggestions on legislative issues, it will not be dictated to on issues of resignations. Here's more.
The stage is set for a fierce showdown between the BJP and Congress-led opposition parties as the first day of the Parliament's monsoon session begins today. The opposition is unwilling to cede ground. Their demand for resignations over the Lalit Modi issue and the Vyapam scam and their unrelenting attack over key bills like the land bill has set the tone for a high-voltage face-off.
सब कुछ निर्भर होता है किस पॉलिटिकल पार्टी की चमड़ी कितनी मोटी। हमारे मुख्यमंत्रियों या मंत्रियों पर आरोप लगते थे, जिस तरह के तो मेरे हजारों करोड़ों आरोप रोज लगते होंगे। तो यहाँ तो घोटाला नहीं, मिलियंस और बिलियंस का घोटाला।
There is no question of accepting any ultimatum. Nobody can dictate to Parliament. Parliament is sovereign. We are an independent country, and this government has got a clear-cut majority. We are concerned. We have nothing to hide. We are very clear, and we hope that the Parliament, which has functioned in a most effective, meaningful manner in the last 1 year, should repeat the same performance.
Despite the opposition stand, the BJP has rolled up its sleeves to tackle the volley of attacks and decided to turn the tables on the Congress in a strategy of aggressive counter-attack. The opposition is expected to launch a blistering attack on the BJP, especially on Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. While Swaraj and Raje are mired in controversies regarding Lalit Modi, Chauhan is under the lens for the Vyapam scam. Also, HRD Minister Smriti Irani is in the spotlight due to a controversy over her educational qualifications. However, the BJP is seeking to counter the opposition strongly by attacking them on their weak lines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who had called an all-party meeting on Monday, also emphasized on the need to use the parliament time effectively to deal with all the issues and said running both the houses is a shared responsibility of all. Modi also added that the centre is ready to debate any issue and hopes that the opposition will use parliament, the most significant of discussion forums, to debate. But going by the lack of consensus in the all-party meetings, a smooth functioning seems a difficult task. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning to talk about the monsoon session of Parliament is the political editor of the Business Standard, Aditi Phadnis. Aditi, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program. As far as the monsoon session of Parliament is concerned, it seems like it's going to be a stormy one with both the opposition and the government. Of course, the Treasury bench is making it very clear that they are not going to back down. So how do you see the next 3 weeks going forward?
Well, my information is that the opposition will not allow Parliament to run today in any case because it's a sitting member has died and Mr. Bhuria from Madhya Pradesh, and so Parliament will be adjourned in his memory today. Tomorrow also I doubt very much if it will work. That brings us to Thursday. Thursday, I think it may do a little bit of business in the morning, but it will be adjourned again. And Friday, in any case, in the afternoon is private members' bill. So I think for the first week, at least, nothing much should be expected from there. Over the weekend, perhaps they will review strategy and maybe continue their disruption for another 1 week. I think the land bill is out of this session because, as you know, the committee which was set up to study the land bill, a select committee, has asked for 2 weeks extension, which takes it right to the end of the parliament session,
Indeed.
more or less. The most important legislation, there are, as you know, 8 bills, 8 or 11, but I think 11 is being optimistic. 8 bills which are supposed to be discussed and passed. It's possible that 1 or 2 bills may be passed. Of them, the most important is the goods and services tax bill.
Indeed, indeed.
So we have to cross our fingers and hope that that is passed, because if it is not, then it does not keep the calendar of its rollout in April 2016.
Would you say that if the monsoon session does not go on as planned and if it is a washout, that the government has more to lose than the opposition?
I think everyone has to lose. The opposition says that we sacrificed so many of our ministers at the hint of charges of corruption. I mean, there wasn't even proof that they were corrupt. Why can't this government do the same? This government says we are in a majority in the Lok Sabha. Charges of corruption are very, very specious. In any case, they are against 2 chief ministers. Matters relating to the states are not allowed to be brought up in parliament, in either house. It's the state legislature which has to decide on whether a chief minister has to be kept on or not. So, and the question of removing or replacing a foreign affairs minister, who, as you know, is part of the committee on security, they are part of very important committees, does not arise. So if there is a hope that there will be some change in the ministers in the center, I think that's not happening.
You know, you did speak about several important and crucial bills. Let's take a look at this report now. Of course, it's the second extension for the Joint Parliamentary Committee looking into the contentious land bill. That extension has been granted to the panel till the first week of August to submit its report. Yasmo.
The Joint Committee of Parliament examining the controversial land acquisition bill has been given a fresh extension till the first week of August to submit its report. This is the second extension sought by the committee, which was originally mandated to table its report today on the first day of the monsoon session.
उन्होंने समय मांगा है क्योंकि उनका कहना है हमें कुछ बातें गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से गवर्नमेंट से भी करना है और हमें समय चाहिए। उसको ऑलरेडी हमने पहले समय बढ़ा के दिया था। अभी फिर से उनका आया है कि हमें और थोड़ा समय, तो अगस्त के फर्स्ट वीक में उसके आने की संभावना है लैंड बिल का।
The extension has been granted as committee members wanted to seek certain clarifications from the government on the amendments brought to the 2013 law. The land bill has been the most contentious bill, with the Congress hardening its stand before the session.
किसानों की बात आई, हम ऑर्डिनेंस पास करेंगे भैया। 3 बार ऑर्डिनेंस पास कर दिया। दम नहीं है, पार्लियामेंट में पास नहीं होने देंगे हम, देख लेना। 1 इंच जमीन नहीं जाएगी।
Smaller parties have also expressed reservations on several amendments brought by the government.
लैंड जो बिल है वो निश्चित तौर पर जो हमारा पहले से भी रहा है, ये देश के किसान और भारत की जो परिस्थिति है उसमें खेत नहीं है तो देश कहाँ से होगा। इसलिए इस बिल को हम मानते नहीं हैं और सरकार ने भी कहा कि इस पर हर तरह का बातचीत करके हम इसका रास्ता निकालें। सदन चलेगा लेकिन सरकार जो है वो चर्चा को होने दे।
लैंड बिल जो इन्होंने संशोधन किया है उससे समाजवादी पार्टी सहमत नहीं है। उसमें गवर्नमेंट अगर कुछ पीछे हटेगी तो हो सकता है कि कोई काम बने। जब इस तरह की मीटिंग होती हैं उसमें हमेशा यही कहा जाता है कि हाउस चले और हाउस चलेगा और सब यही कहते हैं, लेकिन व्यवहार में इसके बिल्कुल विपरीत होता है। इसलिए आई डोंट थिंक सो कि मामला ठीक रहेगा सदन में। मौसम खराब अभी से लग रहा है।
Indications are that the panel is unlikely to come out with this report during the monsoon session and could seek further extension, making it necessary for the government to re-promulgate the ordinance once again. The ordinance was promulgated for the third time on May 31st. An ordinance which has a lifespan of 6 months has to be re-promulgated if it does not get the endorsement of Parliament within 6 weeks of the start of a session. The government has so far maintained that re-promulgation was necessary for maintaining its continuity and providing a framework to compensate people whose land is acquired. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Aditi, coming back to you now, I mean, we already spoke about it. You did mention about the land acquisition bill. Now, this is a very crucial bill as far as the government is concerned, and it doesn't look like it's going to see the light of day, at least in the monsoon session of Parliament. But do you see a joint session being called somewhere in the future, maybe to try and pass this bill?
I don't think so, because the government has already given indications. The issue is land acquisition. Land comes under the state list, but land acquisition comes under the concurrent list, which means this empowers states and the centre to make their own laws. Once a law gets the assent of the president, the centre has no jurisdiction over the state law. Now, several states have different laws. The government wanted a uniform law. This is not acceptable to Parliament. It's not acceptable to many state governments as well. So the government has shrugged its shoulders metaphorically and said, well, if every state wants a different law, so be it. We can't go beyond this. The question of joint session would arise when there's a serious logjam between one house and the other house. The bill which has been passed by one house has to fall, demonstrably fall in the other house, for the president to intervene and say, okay, if you can't clear it, I'm calling a joint session. You clear it in that. But I don't think things have reached that point yet. I'm not so worried about the land bill because under the ordinance, the law which is in place is the law that the government wants.
Indeed.
And there is no limit on the number of times an ordinance can be repromulgated. So they can keep on repromulgating the ordinance. Yeah, it doesn't look good, but they can keep on doing it. The question is, what are they going to do about the goods and services tax?
Indeed. That's the big question. And that's something that you're worried about, aren't you? Because if it is not taken up in this session of Parliament, it's not going to be rolled out next year.
It will have a very bad effect on the credibility of the government in the eyes of foreign investors who are waiting for a common market to be created in India so that the taxation issue of manufacturing states is much clearer to them. So if the goods and services tax does not clear in this monsoon session, it will have a cascading effect. As you know, the goods and services tax is only a constitutional amendment bill, and enabling legislation has to be brought as well. That also has to be cleared. After that, the state governments, at least half of them, half is around 15 or 16.
Yes.
At least half of them have to pass the bill in their assemblies. There are already state VAT laws in place. Those VAT laws have to be repealed and fresh laws have to be introduced in the state. Those have to be debated and passed. After that, all this before notification has to be translated into the local language and has to be notified. So all this takes a long time.
Indeed.
And the deadline was April 2016. Many in the Congress are saying that objectively speaking also this is not a sensible deadline, that it cannot be kept.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Aditi, for putting things into perspective for us and joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you.
Well, here's a look now at what's expected to make news through the course of the day in our segment, The Day Ahead. Mahila Congress workers from across the nation will hold a Gherao of Parliament on its first day of the monsoon session. The protest will be held against the alleged failure of the NDA government at the centre and over various issues including Lalit Modi and Vyapam controversies. More than 10,000 Mahila Congress workers are expected to take part in the protest. Ramvilas Paswan, the Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, will launch the Surakshit Khadya Abhiyan, a national campaign to strengthen countrywide awareness and capacity building on safe and hygienic food for all. This particular scheme is proposed as one of the missions to be championed under the umbrella of a much larger mission, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. The Rajiv Gandhi assassination case will be taken up in the Supreme Court today. The court is to hear the issue of power of remission by the centre and the states. This had arisen after the Tamil Nadu government had decided to remit the sentences and set free 7 convicts in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. The CBI is likely to respond to a plea of former Maharashtra Chief Minister Ashok Chavan in the Adarsh scam in the Supreme Court. Chavan had lodged a plea against a Bombay High Court order refusing to delete his name from the list of accused in the multi-crore housing society scam. The Delhi High Court is to hear the NHRC's plea in the Hashimpura massacre case. The plea has been filed by NHRC challenging a trial court's decision to acquit 16 policemen of charges of murder and other crimes in the 1987 Hashimpura massacre, in which 42 people were killed in Meerut. Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come. 1993 blast convict Yaqub Memmon's curative petition is to be heard in the Supreme Court today. The outcome to decide whether Memon will be hanged will also be out.
A new government in New Delhi. New faces.
People are not investing because they are scared of your tax administration.
New thinking.
The auction process is a fair and good process.
You cannot have a one-size-fits-all reform policy.
For insights and perspective.
Judiciary should be more concerned about corruption within itself.
The Modi government slogan of "Achhe din aane wale hain." Soon the people's slogan will be "Hamare purane din lauta do."
The biggest show on economic policy. Watch State of the Economy.
Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m, Saturday 12:30 p.m, and Sunday at 1 p.m.
Hello, I am Ishan Russell.
I'm Tracy Shilchi and you're watching News Tonight.
Together with the team of our
dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar,
Vishal Dahiya,
Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Hottest topics.
If you can facilitate the opening up and the expansion of the international border trade, you can add to the economy.
370 धारा जो है वो जम्मू कश्मीर को मुल्क के साथ जोड़े रखती है.
Candid confessions.
The Congress has not been able to communicate.
We have to revive our links with the masses.
World-class healthcare is available to only a handful of people in this country.
Causing controversies.
A lot of leaders today think that they rule by divine right.
Now, media has become manageable.
Watch RSTV engage personalities to the point. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m, Thursday, 1:30 and 5:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the curative plea of Yaqub Memon, the mastermind and main accused in the 1993 Mumbai bomb blast case, will come up in the Supreme Court today. President Pranab Mukherjee had rejected Memon's mercy petition and left it to Maharashtra to decide on the date of his hanging. Here's more.
It is going to be a crucial day for Yaqub Memon, who has been convicted and sentenced to death for the 1993 Mumbai serial bomb blasts. Memon's curative petition comes up in Supreme Court today. Yesterday, Yaqub's cousin, along with his lawyer, met him at the high-security Nagpur Central Prison. The BJP-led government had cleared the file to execute him for his role in the blasts that happened at several Mumbai landmarks on 12th of March 1993, including the Bombay Stock Exchange, a popular cinema and 2 crowded markets.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने एक फैसला दिया है और उस फैसले के अनुरूप राज्य सरकार कार्रवाई करेगी। जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने डायरेक्टिव्स दिए हैं उसका पूरा पालन राज्य सरकार की ओर से किया जाएगा।
Memon, a key conspirator with Dawood Ibrahim in the 1993 Mumbai serial blast case, is one of the 10 convicts awarded death penalty by a special Tada court in 2007. His death sentence was upheld by a Supreme Court bench on 21st of March 2013, saying that Memon was the driving spirit behind the blasts that left 257 people dead and over 700 injured. The victims of the Mumbai blasts feel that Memon's hanging would bring closure to their suffering and pain.
मुझे नहीं लगता है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट उसे माफ़ी देंगे, क्योंकि जब भी राष्ट्रपति ने खुद ने हाँ बोल दिया है तो मेरे ख्याल से होना ही चाहिए, और होगा तो ये एक प्रक्रिया पूरी हो जाएगी और ये 1993 ब्लास्ट के जो मेन विक्टिम है उसको फांसी की सज़ा मिलेगी, तो मुझे लगता है कि कुछ न्याय मिलेगा सबको।
Reports say that Memon is likely to be hanged on 30th of July if his plea is rejected. His appeals against the death sentence were earlier rejected by the apex court and by President Pranab Mukherjee. If the court turns down Memon's plea today, this will be the first execution related to the 1993 serial blasts. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on to some international news now. An apparent suicide bomb blast at the Turkish town of Suruk on the Syria border has killed as many as 30 people and wounded around 100 others. Investigations indicate that Islamic State could be behind the attack. Here's a detailed report.
An explosion outside a cultural center in the Turkish town of Suruk near the border with Syria has killed at least 30 people and wounded 100 others. Preliminary investigations point that the blast may have been caused by a female suicide bomber of the Islamic State. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan and Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu condemned the attack and said measures to protect Turkey's border will be increased.
Terör nereden gelirse gelsin lanetlenmelidir. Terörün her zaman söylüyoruz. Dini yoktur, ırkı yoktur, milliyeti yoktur, vatanı yoktur. Dolayısıyla teröre karşı tüm uluslararası
sınırda alınacak tedbirlere gelince bunlar daha da artırılarak sürdürülecek, ama bütün vatandaşlarımız da şunu göz önüne alması lazım ki Türkiye'nin etrafında şu anda birçok ülkenin yaşadığı istikrarsızlıklar, iç gerilimler, çatışmalar Türkiye'deki iç huzuru da etkileyecek mahiyete dönüşebiliyor.
The White House too condemned the incident and called it a heinous terrorist attack.
We express our solidarity with the Turkish government and the Turkish people and reaffirm our undeterred resolve to the fight against the shared threat of terrorism.
Soon after the blast, protests broke out on the streets of Turkey's capital, Istanbul. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered near Taksim Square and chanted slogans against the government. The explosion occurred at midday at the Amara Cultural Park in Suruk, where a group had gathered calling for more help to rebuild the Syrian Kurdish city of Kobani. Kobani has been the center of intense fighting between IS militants and Kurdish fighters. More than 200 people were also killed in the city last month in an IS attack. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more international news now. U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter met his Israeli counterpart as part of the U.S. attempts to allay fears in the Middle East over the Iran nuclear deal. Israel has, however, warned that the money that arrives in Iran following the lifting of sanctions will be used by groups hostile to Tel Aviv.
Israel has warned that it feared the landmark deal curbing Iran's nuclear program in return for sanctions relief would translate into more money for the Hezbollah and other groups hostile to Israel. This was conveyed during U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter's meeting with his Israeli counterpart. The United States and Israel are split over the Iran nuclear deal, with U.S. President Barack Obama saying it makes the United States and its allies safer. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says it does not.
We greatly disagree when it comes to the agreement with Iran
and fear for the future in the aftermath of its signing. Yet, we discuss this issue in a fully open manner, alongside many other issues of great importance. Our relationship with the United States is a core pillar of Israel's defense.
Israel is a cornerstone of our strategy in the Middle East, and its security and qualitative military edge are a top priority for America, for our military, and for me personally. That's especially true when it comes to preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, which the deal reached in Vienna last week, which is a good deal, is designed to do. Friends can disagree about whether it will work, and we'll be watching Iran very closely to see. But there's no disagreement about the ultimate objective. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has done little to alleviate these concerns, saying over the weekend that the nuclear deal would not change Iran's policy in supporting allies, including in Lebanon, Syria, and among the Palestinians.
You see not far from here both of the principal challenges that the United States strategy is intended to address at this time in the Middle East, namely Iranian malign influence, including through proxies like Hezbollah, and secondly, violent extremist groups like ISIL.
Israel believes Hezbollah has more than 1 lakh missiles capable of paralyzing its civilian infrastructure. Seeking to deter the guerrillas, Israeli generals have threatened to devastate Lebanon should there be another full-fledged conflict. Meanwhile, the powerful United Nations Security Council unanimously adopted a resolution that endorsed the Iran nuclear deal on Monday. This paves the way for lifting the crippling sanctions imposed by the world body against Tehran. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
For more news from across the globe, here's our World Wrap. EU ministers have fallen short of a target to agree to the redistribution of 40,000 migrants who have arrived in Italy and Greece. Migration ministers from all 28 EU member states met on Monday in an attempt to finalize the European Commission's plans to resettle the migrants. But after several hours of talks, plans to ask all EU member states to take in a proportion of the refugees remained in limbo, as some nations asked for more time before committing to a set quota. About 150,000 migrants fleeing war and poverty are estimated to have reached Europe so far this year. The UK Prime Minister has launched a 5-year plan to defeat Islamist extremism. Launching his government's anti-extremism policy, Prime Minister David Cameron said that it was time to counter an ideology that has attracted so many young people to the Islamic State group. Cameron also demanded that internet companies do more to help to crack down on extremists seeking to recruit young people into their fold. The measures are meant to crush the infrastructure that has made it possible for as many as 700 young Britons to join armed groups abroad. At least 7 Afghan soldiers were killed and 5 others injured in friendly fire when NATO forces mistakenly launched an airstrike on their army outpost in Logar in Afghanistan. The strike took place in Logar province's district of Baraki Barak, 50 kilometers east of Kabul. An international coalition was investigating the incident. American war aircraft and remotely piloted drones still carry out strikes in Afghanistan, targeting Taliban and other militants even after most foreign forces withdrew at the end of last year. Well, there is gunfire in Burundi's capital just hours before President Pierre Nkurunziza stands for a third consecutive term in elections that have been denounced by his opponents as unconstitutional. The opposition says that the president is only entitled to stand for 2 terms and say that they would boycott the vote. Public anger over the president's bid for a third term provoked violent protests in April and a failed coup attempt in May. Shifting focus now for all the overnight sports news, here's our sports beat. The Indian men's hockey team coach Paul Van Ass has been sacked by Hockey India, but no reason has been given for the sacking so far. Van Ass took over as the national coach in January after the controversial ouster of Australian Terry Walsh. Van Ass's future was mired in doubt after he failed to report on time for the national team's camp that began in Himachal Pradesh on Sunday. World Soccer governing body FIFA will vote for a new president at a special meeting that will be held next year on February 26, 2016 in Zurich. All the 209 member associations will decide on the successor to Sepp Blatter, who has been at the helm of FIFA since 1998. FIFA is also to set up an 11-member task force to propose reforms aimed at cleaning itself up after a series of scandals. However, in a meeting that was held on Monday, 4 out of 6 continental soccer confederations would back Michel Platini, head of the European soccer's governing body UEFA, for the post of FIFA president. Former Indian skipper Sourav Ganguly was named in the BCCI's 4-member working group formed to study the Justice R.M. Lodha committee order. The group is to give recommendations within 6 weeks. The committee was appointed by the Supreme Court that has suspended Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals for 2 years over the IPL spot fixing charges. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.